never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Welcome to another episode of the NRL Allstars podcast. Barnesy here, your host of the Allstars podcast, ahead of round 13 and also State of Origin Game 1 tonight. It is a little bit later for the podcast. I do try and get them up on Tuesday evenings sometimes, but other times it is a Wednesday just due to work commitments and stuff. And sadly this week, I was trying to get Wilfred on. He just isn't available on Tuesdays. It's just way too hard for all those Champions fans. And Mikey called in sick on me as well. So I am going to do a quick 20-minute rundown of what I think for this week for SuperCoach. It is a tough week. It's also a week where I've had heaps of work on, so I apologise. It's a bit of a shorter one and I don't have a wingman with me, but there is some things that I definitely wanted to touch on. Make sure if you are also tuning in for the first time or you're a newer listener or watcher that you do hit like and subscribe for me. Helps out the podcast immensely. And look, I may as well just because I like to mix it up a little bit, mention the great sponsor of our podcast here straight away rather than during the episode. One More Courier. You can go to onemorecourier.com.au today. If you or the business that you own or work for has any freight or shipping needs, no matter how big or small, they can help you out. You just go on their website, sign up for a free account. When it says, where did you hear about us? You put NRL Allstars podcast. They will then give you a great rate to start with to try them out. But basically, if you just pop in what you want to send and where you want to send it in that website, they'll give you a list of all the different carriers that'll do it for you, how much it'll cost. You pick what one you want, but One More Courier actually take care of it all for you. Paul's also a big West Tigers fan, and you'll notice the One More Courier sponsorship on the West Tigers jerseys this year too. So if you're a Tigers fan, you're extra got to get behind them if you're an All-Stars fan and Tigers fan. So jump on One More Courier today. But for this week, strategy chat first. Ahead of Origin and at this point of the season, we're at the midway mark. It's a really important time to reflect because it's also possibly the hardest period of the season. I think it's the hardest. Other people disagree. But look, I reckon it is. We have a couple of things to consider here. Now, everybody is doing their trades, which we're going to get to in a minute, and they are looking at buy cover, but you also need to consider that there's Origin cover as well. So this strategy chat is just going to be about managing your trades and really thinking about the decisions that you're making from now here on out, because it's going to shape how you finish the season. So obviously buy cover is important. On this podcast, we are a buy cover positive podcast. We want you to buy cover if you want to do well overall, and a lot of head-to-head comps now have buy rounds included as well. So it is important, but you've also got to consider with your team the Origin guys as well that you have. How are you going to handle that? Because Origin guys may very well rest this week. And we also may have outs with suspensions through Origin as well. But more importantly, if you're trading out Origin players, how are you going to get them back in and what is your plan? And that's really, really important. So it is hard during this period to have a really strong 18 that you're fielding every week. But when you're doing your trades, you got to remember that you're building for the run home. And I've spoken to so many people about this the last week. Even myself, I've had massive conversations with for my own team. It's really important. Everyone's making some trades that I think would be better in the first couple months of the season that aren't as good now. And what I mean is, for example, if you're making trades to make money, like you're getting guys that have, minus 53 break evens and thinking that you're going to make some cash out of it, you've also got to remember that you need to have the trades to be able to get these guys out. And you also need to look at your team and say, how much do you really need to make money at this point of the season? Certainly the first third of the season is the most important time to make money. Other times, if you can make quick money, great. But I'm going to use a couple of examples here to try and illustrate my point. A couple of popular trades at the moment on the trade market coming in are Te Maire Martin, most popular trade at the moment, minus 95 break even, going to make a ton of cash, 235,000. Totally get it. And the other one is Liam Sutton as well at minus 53 break even. Totally get it as well. I understand. But look, someone like Liam Sutton, okay, say you get 2 rises out of him. You might get 100 grand. Is it worth it? at this point in the season to spend 2 trades. The other thing I'll say with both Te Maire Martin and also Liam Sutton is with those guys at 5'8", do you really want to make 2 trades at 5'8"? It's a poor position. Te Maire Martin does have some potential buy cover there, but is that worth it? Because you can just get that buy cover in other spots. It's only top 13 these days, so why not just not trade there? I'm of the opinion for my team, and it's going to be different for every team, everybody. So, I'm not just saying blanket, don't ever do these trades. They are good trades for some teams, but for my team, it's not, because I'm looking at it going, look, I can't afford 2 trades at 5'8". I just don't want to do it. I don't think it's worth it at 5'8". I may as well just go to someone who I want to keep like a Sharp, because it's 1 trade spent, and I don't have the trades to be doing these type of moves now. I can't go and make 100 grand here and there and then get to my final team that I need to get to. And a lot of teams are in that boat as well. So you really got to consider that when you're doing these type of trades. Is it worth it? Do you really need the money? And what are you going to get out of it aside from the money? So this is probably the point of the season where I think it separates a lot of teams, which is a great opportunity, because it means it's an opportunity for teams to move up substantially. You've really got to plan ahead, though. And sometimes it's best just to let the money slide, let the trades slide that you would have thought were great the first 2 months of the season, because we're at a different point now. And you've really got to focus on guys that you're getting in, hopefully keeping, and not being able to have to send them out again. So straight into Market Watch, because it's a great segue. Traded out players, there isn't a lot to talk about. I think that there's mostly a lot of guys that should be traded out, but there is one that warrants big discussion. Nicho Hynes. Now, at this point, Nicho Hynes has a minor calf strain, and it looks like that he might miss a week. That could be more, okay? And obviously, if we get more information at hand, it could change. But to me, it goes back into our strategy chat that we were just having before, right? It is a trade where you have to get Nicho Hynes back. So do you really want to spend 2 trades on having Nicho Hynes out and back? After this round, he plays the Dragons at home if he is fit. That is a game you absolutely cannot miss. He has already gone 130 plus 3 times this season. 3 out of his 10 scores, 30% of the time he's gone 130 plus. They are big tons. Okay, half the time he's going 100 plus. He's tunning up all over the place. You can't not have him versus the Dragons. He is an average of 115 against the Dragons as an average, with a high of 182. Trading him out now, if we don't know that he's gone for, say, 4 weeks or something, is killer. And what I would even say is that with the top guys like Hynes, he's averaging 96 points a game at the moment for the season. Those type of elite guys, at this point of the season, I'm just going to hold and grin and bear it, because you can cover them with other guys and you're going to need them back. And I don't think that a lot of teams can afford those trades at the moment. So I do find the Hynes trading out a little bit puzzling. Yes, he does not... Yes, he does maybe miss the next couple of weeks, but even if he misses that Dragons game, what if he plays round 15? Big buy round where you absolutely have to have Nicho Hynes as well. It doesn't make any sense to me. But again, there might be more information coming out that I haven't seen yet. And by the time you listen to this podcast, maybe that changes a little bit. But he'd want to be out 5 or 6 weeks or something for me to be trading him out at the moment. We're going to have a look at some of the other guys as well. But I think it's mostly making sense. Suafa-Longo is probably the only other traded out guy that's a little bit controversial. But look, the Storm are now not going to play another major buy round, and Sua has not been doing what he did at the start of the season. So there is some good options. I can see why some teams would be looking at it. The traded in is going to be a lot more complicated. I've already said my piece on Te Maire Martin. I'm not saying he's a bad trade at all, but the other thing to consider too, aside from what I said in the strategy chat of whether you can afford the trade and whether you want to really trade twice at 6, is how long is he actually going to play for? Certainly a chance that he just starts there. But all the reports from Metcalf and the Warriors are he needed to get the running under his belt and he needed to train fully with the team for a week or 2, and then he was going to be all right. And that's directly from Webster. That doesn't fill me with confidence that Metcalf is not going to get selected. And they've got the Penrith Panthers this week. You wouldn't really want to play him for that. And then he's got to bye. You may very well end up with 1 game out of that Te Maire Martin trade if Metcalf takes that job back in 2 weeks. and then all of a sudden he doesn't even cover you for that bye round. That is a very real possibility. It may not happen, but it is a huge, huge risk, and I think 50-50 that it actually does. So again, is it really worth it? You've got to weigh that up for yourself, and also how many trades you got left and the risks that you want to take. I don't think it is for my team. Reece Walsh, number 2 most traded in player. I like this and I don't. Okay, it's certainly a trade that could net you a huge ton. There's no question that that the Dragons are getting massive points put on him, and Reece Walsh is a guy that could kill him. He does only have a 73 average against them. It's not like he's been killing them in the past. And probably the biggest against trading in Reece Walsh argument I have is that he hasn't been going phenomenal. So I think that a lot of people, including me, when I've traded him in earlier in the season, it didn't work out for me. That I think that with these trades, we're hoping that he's going to be Reece Walsh the last 2 months of last season. And we might not ever see that from him again. Last year's 85 points per game, he might not average that again. Playing 600K is value. He's going to give you value at that cost. If it wasn't a fullback position or a flex position, I think it would be a really, really strong buy and almost a must. The problem is that there's so many other fullbacks that you can have that are all going better than Reece Walsh, and also fullbacks who I guess you're probably going to want to prefer to run home with potentially. Now, if you think that Reece Walsh is your run home fullback, now is the time to buy him. 100% that is a trade for you. He is only averaging 61 for the year. He will do better than that. But the draw, we've got the Dragons this week, round 14, the Titans. It is amazing matchups for him. There is no way around that. I will just throw out there, though, that it was an amazing matchup for him in round 5 versus the Titans, and he put up 38 points. And against Manly in round 10, 28 points when they weren't looking, as good defensively either. So I'm not sure on Walsh and the Broncos. He does play round 15 if he doesn't get selected. And this is the other caveat in going for Reece Walsh. If the Queensland Origin team loses to New South Wales tonight, does Reece Walsh at least come onto the bench? And all he's going to do is come onto the bench, and he's not going to be available for round 15. So that's the risk there. But the next 2 matchups are good enough to say it's a good buy. You just got to be aware that there is potential for it to not go massive with the way he's been playing, and also potential for him to be in the Origin camp. But I do like it, and I don't think that he's still going to be highly owned, so it's definitely a good option. Jacob Kiraz, one of my favourite buys for this week. I bought him in last week and absolutely loved it. I was taking a big risk when I did that. It wasn't an awesome, I'm the greatest super coach ever by making that move. It was risky because anyone coming back from a long-term injury, especially him when he keeps getting hurt, it's hard to bank on him coming back into form straight away. I thought he looked good, though. He was pushing the offloads, had 7 of them, and that's what you want to see, that type of activity. Obviously turned up because he got that try line break, but he was going for a massive score anyway, which is exactly why you want to own him. 612,000 is huge value. Not really good buy round covers for the Bulldogs, though, but that's the only problem. The next 2 weeks, the Dogs do have the Tigers, and more importantly, they've got the Eels at a Course Stadium, and that one's going to be a great matchup for Kiraz as well. If he keeps the fullback spot longer term, it's going to be even better. But right now, he's probably my favourite buy of the week for the backs. 2 Tigers there, Pierce Paul and Terrell May. Love them both. I think that they're both fantastic buys. I lean towards getting Pierce Paul first, only because he's got a 53 break even. Terrell May has a break even of 111. You'd expect that he's going to be a bit cheaper than 800 grand in the coming weeks. It also buys you a little bit of time with Terrell May to see if any changes actually happen with the New South Wales State of Origin team, because he could be brought into camp still. Injuries can happen, suspensions can happen, poor form can happen. Daly could just change the side after a loss if that happens. Obviously, Pierce Paul isn't going to be in danger of having to represent either Queensland or New South Wales. So I like waiting on May, but he's definitely a guy to be looking at in the next few weeks, because the Tigers are going to cover that next big buy round. Guys that aren't going to cover that next big buy round, Fletcher Sharp is one. And look, I said, for my team, I'm not going for a Te Maire Martin or a Liam Sutton because I can't afford the trade out in the 2 trades there. What I can afford to do is pay only $512,000 and get Fletcher Sharp in as an absolute keeper. Coming off 91 points last time he played, and playing against an Eels side that is now going to be missing both Moses and Junior Barlow as well. It is a phenomenal matchup for Sharp. and he's going to break even at 29. He's only going to keep getting expensive. He's got over a $218,000 discount at the moment on his starting price. That's the type of trade I want to make at 6 for my team. A guy that I can do one trade, get in, play and get good points out of immediately, have some cover in round 18 because the Knights very strategically cover that round 18 big buy if you're looking well ahead, and just keep him there for the year. And it's a really easy one for me. So I'm really into Fletcher Sharp at 7% ownership, even with the trades being made at the moment. He's going to be sub 10% ownership for this matchup against the Eels this week. So really, really love Fletcher Sharp this week, and he's going to outscore both Sutton and Te Maire Martin, who are more popular than him right now. Payne Haas and Toby Couchman, two front rowers. Now, Toby Couchman has been absolutely on fire. Was worried about his AC joint on the weekend. He went phenomenal. What I probably said a couple of weeks ago, I'm pretty sure, but I think that I would have, because I'd say the same thing now, is I'd be worried about getting him in only because there's so many good front row forwards. And I kind of want May. I kind of want Payne Haas ahead of him. Even Tapani, you could have got him in instead, and he's firing at the moment as well. But you know what? He's playing well enough as a front rower that you could put him down in second row forward with his duel and be happy that he's a second row forward. He's just beasting it with the minutes and the PPM at the moment, and it doesn't look like they're going to slow down giving the Couchmans those minutes. So he's still a really good buy at 700k. Payne Haas, I don't think is a good buy. 129 break even, 680,000. He's the black book guy for this week. You've got him in your black book for the next few weeks, because when you get out of the origin period, he might be closer to 650k, 640k, and then be on the upswing. That's when you buy him. At the moment, he will be, I would imagine, one of the first forwards picked for New South Wales game 2. Win, loss, draw, anything, he's getting in that side. They need him. And he's an automatic selection for that side. The same as anyone like Nathan Cleary or any of these top New South Wales guys, they are straight in if they are healthy. The other problem is, aside from him playing Origin, which is a definite, he will also be coming back from a AC joint injury that has a huge history of reoccurrence as well. And it has happened to him multiple times in the past. So I'd want to see what that looks like, whether he gets hurt again, whether he gets selected for Origin, which he will, and also what his minutes look like, because I very much doubt that Madge is going to run him at 65, 70 minutes and run him into the ground his first game back after a big layoff with that type of injury. He's probably going to get 51, 52 minutes. And that, Payne Haas is a beast. He'll probably still score well. Maybe he just gets you 60 odd though. And that's not really worth it at the moment. It's not worth the trade. It's not going to give you the cover that you need in the future buy rounds. And it's also, at a price that's going to be more expensive for you. So I'm looking at him in a few weeks' time. Not now, but he will be a great buy. Let's have a look at the team list quickly and check out what we have for this week on the captaincy front, because I tell you, the guy that I had as vice captain straight up this round was Nicho Hynes. I really liked it at home versus the Manly Seagulls this week. And unfortunately, we now miss out on that opportunity. The Manly game, I don't actually see a lot of options in it, so I'm going to fast forward to this night's game, because this is probably a game where it's going to affect a lot of people with the Origin players. When we talk about restings, this is a Saturday 3 p.m. game. I would be absolutely shocked if Kalen Ponga ends up playing in this. The Knights would have to be absolutely mental to play him after an Origin game with his injury history in this matchup against Para that they can probably win without him anyway. So you have to be ready to be able to replace Kalen Ponga as well. And obviously that's why I wouldn't be trading him in either, even if he's named there like he is. The other thing too is that these Knights obviously have several other key guys that you can look at for this one if you think they're going to put points on the Eels. The Eels are giving up the second most points per game in the NRL at the moment. Their defence has not been good. And Fletcher Sharp, I've already tipped my hat to. Greg Marju, anyone that owns him, these guys could be the pod VC options of the round. This is a time of year as well, and I'll go on a bit of a segue, where if you're like really chasing, and there's a lot of teams that are similar, doing a real out there VC that, could fire is the way to really catch up ground. And catching up ground quickly can really catapult you. I'm around 2,000 rank at the moment. That's only about 250 points off top 500. And 250 points is nothing. you can get that really easily. Just by one big vice-captaincy loop, you can eat that up and have that type of run right now. We've already seen Greg Marju score 200 points. Now, I don't think he's going to do that against the Eels. I could see a hat-trick, though. And if he gets a hat-trick, 120 plus is a real possibility, and that's going to be VC loopable. So definitely one to consider. The other one as well to watch is whether Dylan Lucas actually plays, because if he doesn't, he's gonna be potentially running riot on that edge against that Eels side. So really like this game for the Newcastle Knights, not so much for the Eels. Moving along, we've got the Tigers Bulldogs, and look, Tigers got a lot of troops back for this one, which is really good. I don't see any real VC or C options that I'd want to take in this one. Certainly, Carraz at fullback looks really good, but couldn't put anything on that one. Not really any pods for me either when we're discussing the pods and gems. But in the Roosters Storm match, we have all the big Origin guns named to start, not even on the extended bench. I think that guys like Teddy going to be VC material every single week. With the amount of points the Storm are still giving up despite winning, it is a huge option. I think probably Sam Walker is at odds to be rested, though. And when you have a look at it, Daly Cherry Evans can go to 7 and Hugo Savala can move over to 6. And that's going to be pretty easy for them to accomplish. They do, in the wider squad, have Rodwell, who can play on the wing, and also Bassingthwaite, who can play at fullback for Teddy potentially as well even. So you are going to have to watch out for these ones. But I also would say probably there's going to be some reshuffles on the Storm side as well normally. But this year, I just don't think they can afford it. You know, I don't think they can make the finals. They've got to win something out of like 9 out of 12 or something like that, I think it is, for them to make the top 8. But Bellamy and the Storm will not be saying die. They'll be gunning for that, and they'll be pushing every single week to make that top 8 still. So I tend to think that the Storm guys will likely back up. One or two of the Roosters might not. I look at this next game of the Dragons and Broncos and think, geez, if you got Reece Walsh in, you basically must have a VC on him at least. I do like the VC better than the C, to be perfectly honest, only because, like I said, you know, he had that Titans game earlier in the year and he only scored a 38. He has been scoring pretty low. And this Broncos side doesn't look incredibly strong at the moment, although Haasback does help them out. I'm certainly thinking the Broncos are going to win, but if you put a C on Walsh and he throws up a 38, like he did in that Titans game, it's going to be pretty demoralising when you could have just VC'd him, because there is some other C options as well. So that's probably what I'm edging towards if I'm owning Reece Walsh. But if you're trading him in, I'm 100% putting something on him. The Raiders and the Cowboys on the Sunday 4 o'clock time slot. Now, this one, both teams have been giving up points. Cowboys didn't give up many to the Roosters last week, though, which was good for them. But the Raiders, surprisingly enough, have struggled to both score points and also to defend against the opposition, scoring points on them. They're top 4 in least points per game and most points conceded per game. So that's not great for them. Likewise, obviously, Drinkwater is a guy to talk about. He went great last week, scored 120 odd, fantastic captain in the bye round. He, against the Raiders, has not had massive games. He's only got a high of 102. He does have a good average of 70, though. Generally been pretty consistent against them. I think that he's 100% a guy that you could ride this week with the captaincy on him. It's going to be slightly risky potentially, but when you have a look at the fact that he's only in 13.7% of teams, he's still going to be a massive pot option as captain, which has been really valuable owning Drinkwater throughout this year. So I love him as a bit of a chase captain. I think that they will put on points on the Raiders. Last week, my pot of the week was Weeks. He did not fire, only a 52. I'm backing him in to fire this week. I think that he's got to at least get a line break try, and that normally translates to around 80 plus for him. So I still, we're going to ride that, but that didn't work out for me last week. I fired that shot, didn't quite hit with a 52, but this one looks like the matchup of the round that's going to have the most points in it, I reckon. So probably want some pieces of it. Helam Lukey, for those that have not sold, I think is also a special to go for a try, and 100% you need to be starting him. I've seen a lot of coaches benching him in the last month. these matchups, he's primed for tries. The Panthers and the Warriors is the last game, and look, it's going to be tough because we said, look, there's a lot of options later on in the round to captain, and Nathan Cleary would normally be one of them, but does he play, does he not play? Because if you leave it and he doesn't play, you're going to be stuck with your VC score. Now, having said that, if your VC score is decent, but not massive, so maybe like, a 95 or 100 or something, you can always just leave the C on Cleary, hope that he plays, but if he doesn't, you're still going to get a decent VC out of it to alleviate the risk. And what that's also going to do is, if he does play, give you a bit of a pod C, because a lot of the time, if we don't know until, say, 24 hours before or even the day of that he's definitely in and playing, people will put their captaincy earlier in the week. So there won't be the potential for the masses to jump on a C Cleary this round, because there'll be too much uncertainty as to whether he plays or not. That presents a massive opportunity if you can afford to do it with your VC and C Cleary, if he actually does play, because against the Warriors this week, I think that he still goes well. Does he end up playing a full game? Look, it is the last game of the round late on a Sunday at 6 o'clock. So I tend to think that he plays most of a game. It's kind of a bit overrated to me when people talk about how Cleary gets rested. Yes, it does blunt his score a little bit with his ceiling, but at the same time, normally when someone gets rested, it's in that 65 to 70 minute mark. So at worst, like, maybe you lose 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe that, and at that point, if they're winning by that much and it's in the bag, he's probably already given you a decent score. So no one gets rested 50, 60 minutes into a game. Oh, and that's not going to happen with Cleary this week if he does play, I don't think. So interesting option to try and play around with, maybe having a crack at Cleary. Warriors obviously have been playing well, but playing away from home against the Panthers in the form that they're in, and this will be our pods and gems time as well. I'm going to finish up on this one. I own Tommy Jenkins, and everyone jumped off him, and even still, there's not anywhere near the ownership on him. I really like him this week to score some tries against that Warriors right edge defence. I think that he's going to be a special this week. So, back to the doubles like we saw him do, like how many games in a row at the start of the season. He's a potential ton this week as well. So if you're really feeling ambitious, you could have the C on Cleary, and even depending on matchups, do a Hail Mary switch to Melky on the wing and hope that Jenkins goes across for a double. You could potentially do that. I had someone do that against me 2 weeks ago. I had the C on Cleary when everybody did, and he put the C on Jenkins, and Jenkins outscored Cleary. So, that can happen. Other than that, though, that is the podcast for the week. It was a bit of a faster one this week to fly through. Origin tonight. Jump on and do SuperCoach Origin, everyone. Have a look at the Allstars podcast on all the social media, because I put up the codes. If you want to jump on a free Origin league tonight, jump in the Allstars one. It's up there on socials. You can go and find it. Definitely like and subscribe, though, on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. It's been a tough week with work. I've been a bit sick. I'm not on form. I'm sorry. I've done my best, everyone, but I am pumped up to take a hit up for the Blues tonight. I hope they win. Good luck to both teams, though. Enjoy the footy, and also enjoy this round of footy in round 13 of NRL action as well. Can't wait to talk all about it again next week.
You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold.